welcome back to the Trading Post. You know, this is me, Fred, and good old star of the show, old Noodle. Here he's coming to say hi. What do you think, Noodle? Do we got a good show for them today or what? Huh? Yeah? Yeah, we do. It's Fred Files Episode 5, and this is the disappearance of Bobby Dunbar. As a matter of fact, as far as we know, still to this point in time, this case is unsolved. It's never been solved. It's a cold case to this day. And Bobby Dunbar, okay, we're going to start on into this. Bobby Dunbar was an American boy whose disappearance at the age of 4 and apparent return were widely reported in the newspapers across the United States in 1912 and 1913. After 8 months of nationwide searching, investigators believed that they had found the child in Mississippi in the hands of William Cantwell Walters of Barnesville, North Carolina. Dunbar's parents claimed the boy as their missing son. However, both Walters and a woman named Julia Anderson insisted that the boy with him was Anderson's son, Bruce. Julia Anderson could not afford a lawyer, and the court eventually ruled in favor of the Dunbars. Percy and Leslie Dunbar retained custody of the child, who proceeded to live out the remainder of his life as Bobby Dunbar. Now, the date was August 23rd, 1912, when this happened. Location was St. Landry Parish, Louisiana. The type of case was a disappearance. Okay, the outcome was a cold case. All right, the death was there. How many deaths? There was one death, Dunbar in absentia. Okay, missing was Robert Bobby Clarence Dunbar, 4 years old. The accused person was William Cantwell Walters and was exonerated. Charges was kidnapping. They were dismissed. The verdict was guilty, but it was overturned. The sentence was 2 years in prison. 2 years in prison served, and the sentence was overturned, the overall. In 2004, DNA profiling established, in retrospect, that the boy found with Walters and returned to the Dunbars as Bobby had not been a blood relative of the Dunbar family. Okay. This makes most believe that the boy was in fact Bruce Anderson and had been wrongly identified by Dunbar's parents. Julia Anderson had no means to contest Dunbar's decision, but always maintained the child was her son. However, this does not solve what happened to the true Bobby Dunbar, who was presumed dead in absentia. Okay? All right. He was born Robert Clarence Dunbar, May 23rd, 1908, in Opelousas, Louisiana. He disappeared August 23rd, 1912, at 4 years of age, in St. Landry Parish, Louisiana, as said prior. Status, missing for 111 years, 5 months, and 18 days, and is presumed dead in absentia. Okay? Basically, dead in absentia, okay, just as a small footnote here, dead in absentia is the fact that when there is no evidence whatsoever found of the person that's missing, nothing, and extended time extends without any clues, any evidence of any kind on that person and their disappearance or whereabouts. So that's just a short note. Give me 1 second here. All right, now we're going to discuss Bruce Anderson, okay? Bruce Anderson was born Charles Bruce Anderson in 1908 and had died March 8th, 1966 at the age of 57 or 58 years old in Houston, Texas. Other names he was under was Bobby Dunbar or Robert Clarence Dunbar Sr. He was known for being mistaken for Bobby Dunbar. His spouse was Marjorie Geraldine Byers. He had 4 children, and his mother was Julia Anderson. Robert Clarence Bobby Dunbar was the first son born to Leslie and Percy Dunbar of Opelousas, Louisiana. He was born May 23, 1908. In August 1912, the Dunbars took a fishing trip to nearby Swayze Lake in St. Landry Parish, Louisiana. On August 23rd, while on that trip, Bobby disappeared. After an 8-month search, authorities located William Cantwell Walters, who worked as an itinerant handyman specializing in the tuning and repairing of pianos and organs. Walters had been traveling through Mississippi with a boy who appeared to match the description of Bobby Dunbar. Walters claimed the boy was actually Charles Bruce Anderson, generally referred to as Bruce, the son of a woman who worked for his family. He said that the boy's mother was named Julia Anderson and that she had willingly granted him custody. Julia Anderson would later confirm this. Nonetheless, Walters was arrested and authorities sent for the Dunbars to come to Mississippi and attempt to identify the boy. Now, newspaper accounts differ with regard to the initial reaction between the boy and Leslie Dunbar. While on one account indicated that the boy immediately shouted "mother" upon seeing her, and the two then embraced, another said only that the boy cried and quoted Leslie Dunbar as saying she was unsure whether he was her son. Other newspaper accounts quote both the Dunbars as initially stating doubts as to the boy's identity. There were similar contradictions in newspaper accounts of the boy's first sighting of the Dunbars' younger son Alonzo, with one newspaper claiming that the boy recognized Alonzo instantly, called him by name, and kissed him, with another saying the boy showed no sign of recognizing Alonzo. The next day, after bathing the boy, Leslie Dunbar said she positively identified his moles and scars and was then certain that he was her son. The boy returned to Opelousas with the Dunbars to a parade with much fanfare celebrating the homecoming. One pause. Now, sorry, y'all. Shortly thereafter, Julia Anderson of North Carolina arrived to support Walters' contention that the boy was, in fact, her son Bruce. Anderson was unmarried and worked as a field hand for the Walters family. She said that she had allowed Walters to take her son only for what was supposed to be a 2-day trip to visit one of Walters' relatives. She further asserted that she had not consented for Walters to take her son for more than a few days. Now, according to newspaper accounts, Anderson was presented with 5 different boys who were of the same age as her son, including the boy who had been claimed by the Dunbars. When the boy in question was presented, he reportedly gave no indication that he recognized her. She asked whether he was the boy recovered, but was not given an answer and finally declared that she was unsure. This stuff's getting deeper, isn't it? Upon seeing the boy again the next day, when she was allowed to undress him, she indicated a stronger certainty that the boy was indeed her son Bruce. However, word had already spread about her failure to positively identify him on the first attempt. This, combined with the fact that newspapers questioned her moral character in having had 3 children, the other 2 deceased at this point, out of wedlock, led to Anderson's claims being dismissed. That's sad. With no money to sustain a long court battle, Anderson returned home to North Carolina. She later returned to Louisiana for Walters' kidnapping trial to attest to his innocence and pushed for the court to determine that the boy was her son. At the trial, she became acquainted with the residents of the town Poplarville, Mississippi, many of whom had also come to proclaim Walters' innocence. William Walters and the boy had spent quite a bit of time in Poplarville during their travels, and the community there had come to know them well, with a number of them asserting that they had seen Walters with the boy prior to the disappearance of Bobby Dunbar. Despite their testimony, the court reached the determination that the boy was in fact Bobby Dunbar. Walters was extradited from Mississippi to Louisiana for trial. Walters was convicted of kidnapping, while the boy remained in the custody of the Dunbar family and lived out the remainder of his life as Bobby Dunbar. Now, after the trial, the people of Poplarville welcomed Anderson, and she began a new life there, eventually marrying and having 7 children. According to her descendants, she became a devout Christian, helped found a church, and served as a nurse and midwife to the small community. Although her children indicated that her life was a happy one after settling in Poplarville, they said that she nonetheless spoke often of her lost son, and that their family always regarded him as having been kidnapped by the Dunbars. She died February 1st, 1940, and is buried in Fords Creek Cemetery in Poplarville. In 2008, one of Anderson's sons, Hollis, recounted the story for The American Life that in 1944, Bobby Dunbar, or Bruce Anderson, visited him at his place of business, where they talked. Hollis's sister, Jules, has recounted a similar experience wherein a man who she believes to have been Dunbar came to the service station where she worked and talked to her for an extended period. The Dunbar family also has a similar story as told by Bobby Dunbar's son, Gerald. The family was returning home from a trip and passed through Poplarville when Bobby Dunbar said, "Those are the people they came to pick me up from." The Anderson family then had a brief visit with Dunbar. After Walters had served 2 years of his prison term for kidnapping, his attorney was successful in appealing the conviction, and it was overturned by the Louisiana Supreme Court. Walters was then granted the right to a new trial. Citing the excessive costs of the first trial, prosecutors in Opelousas declined to try him again and instead released him. After his release from custody, Walters resumed an itinerant lifestyle. Walters died on April 7, 1945, and was buried in Pueblo, Colorado, beside his wife. The grandchildren of Walters' brother reported that during their childhood, he typically visited their grandfather a few times per year, and that during these visits, Walters always maintained his innocence regarding the kidnapping charge. The boy raised as Bobby Dunbar, married, had 4 children of his own, and died on March 8, 1966. He was buried in Bellevue Memorial Park in Opelousas, Louisiana. His widow died in 1994 and was interred next to her husband. Okay? All right. Now, later investigation. Years after Bobby Dunbar's death, one of his granddaughters, Margaret Dunbar Cutright, began her own investigation of the events, poring through newspaper accounts, interviewing the children of Julia Anderson, and examining the notes and evidence presented by Walters' defense attorney for his kidnapping trial and appeal. Although Cutright had initially hoped to prove that her grandfather was Dunbar, her research ultimately led her to doubt her belief. In 2004, after an Associated Press reporter approached the family about the story, Bob Dunbar Jr. consented to undergoing DNA tests to resolve the issue. The results showed that Dunbar Jr. was not related by blood to his supposed cousin, the son of Alonzo Dunbar, who was the younger brother of Bobby Dunbar Sr., the original Bobby Dunbar who went missing. Okay? Since the DNA testing was conclusive, the fate of the real Bobby Dunbar remains unknown. Now, we're going to touch up with the 2008 radio documentary, okay? In March 2008, Public Radio International's This American Life featured The Ghost of Bobby Dunbar, a radio documentary about the investigation of the case by Margaret Dunbar Cutright. She expressed her own opinion that the real Bobby Dunbar most likely fell into Swayze Lake during the fishing trip and was eaten by an alligator. She revealed that the results of her investigation had brought joy to Julia Anderson's family as vindication of her claims, as well as to William Walters' family as an exoneration of the kidnapping accusation against him. She also said that her findings had sown discord within her own family, as the majority of her grandfather's children and grandchildren considered themselves to be members of the Dunbar family, cherished their existing familial relationships, and were resentful of Cutright, both for having delved into the matter and for having helped renew the topic in terms of public attention. So what do you guys think? What do you think really happened to Bobby Dunbar? Was it an alligator, or could it be something paranormal or otherworldly? Could it have been a cryptid kidnapped him? I mean, who knows? We're just throwing up different ideas here. But you let us know what you think on this, okay? I mean, it could have just been somebody else kidnapped the kid. I mean, could they have just not found the kidnapper? Because obviously they had a search for this kid for 8 months. You would think they would probably check the water in the lake. They'd check all around it, all surrounding areas. I mean, that's pretty much what search and rescue do, for disappearance cases like that. Excuse me. But I don't know. I mean, I think it is. I mean, it could be. There's different possibilities that could have happened. I mean, he could have gotten eaten by an alligator and no one knew it. But if that's the case, this kid was 4 years old when he disappeared. Who in the hell's going to leave their kid far enough away from anybody to where something can happen, they can disappear? But then again, on the other hand, think about all these other disappearances you hear of in national forests and stuff like that, where the kid is right there and then not there and they're gone. And there's no sign of them, no trace of them whatsoever. So, like I said, I want you guys to let me know your thoughts on this case. Okay? If you want to, you can comment down below, or you can email us now, because I got the email opened up now. It's thetradingpost8124@gmail.com. Okay? It's all lowercase letters. So you can send us emails, and we'll be glad to reply to that. If you have anything on the case, if you have any other information that maybe I wasn't able to pull up on this, because I really didn't get much on the actual initial of it, as far as the moments of his disappearance and what all coincided at that point in time and how it happened. If you have anything on that, please forward it to me. Let me know, and then we'll revise this, or we'll come out with another episode of it and touch it up. But as far as I didn't get nothing on the initial point of the disappearance. I mean, this thing was surrounded with so much craziness. My God. This poor guy, this one guy, he gets accused of being a kidnapper, and evidently he didn't kidnap the kid. And all this other stuff transpires on top of it. It was a big headline in the newspapers at the time. It was a major deal. So, I mean, I'm guessing, in that instance as well, the authorities, they're probably thinking, man, we need to, get this closed up, because, it's getting so much media attention. We got to solve this. So, I mean, whenever you got something like that where, the actual parents are claiming, yeah, that's my kid, but maybe it's just their adrenaline and they wasn't focused. They was just so amped up with fear and joy and everything all wrapped up into one when they seen this child. But I don't know. I mean, like they say, we all have a twin in the world. So who knows? That kid, this Bruce Anderson, may have been identical to him, may have looked identical to him, and it could have been easily confused to where they thought it was their child. But as far as these newspaper articles, then you got those to throw into the mix too. One saying this thing, one saying this thing. One saying that the boy ran up and kissed his brother. The other one saying he made no interaction whatsoever with him. So what do we believe when you got both sides of the spectrum on this? It's a little unnerving, to say the least, to know that something like this could have happened and could still happen today. You never know. I mean, think about that. The poor woman lost her child, you know? And I mean, both families, it's sad. It's a tragedy both ways because, you know, the Dunbars lost their child. Still to this day, he's not been found. They had no evidence of him. As far as I know, they had no evidence because I couldn't find nothing on it. And evidently they didn't have no ripped clothes, no lost shoes, nothing. That's insane for a 4-year-old kid to go missing like that. So it had to be, 1, somebody kidnapped the kid. 2, an alligator could have ate him without them knowing, could have just pulled him under the water, under the lake. And that wouldn't take long. And then you got paranormal instances that it could have possibly been something else. But there was nothing in regards to that at all on this case. I couldn't pull anything up with that, but considering it's unknown what happened to him, I could be honest and say I think anything's up for debate at this point. You know, what did happen to this poor kid? It's been a long, long time ago. 1912. It's a long time ago. So, you know, if you guys want to add anything to this, if you can pull anything up, if you find anything, any other added information, we'll go ahead and revise this. We'll add it to this episode, and we'll go ahead and, you know, go with it that way. And I will definitely throw a shout out to you for your support and your help as far as your information and everything. If you don't want your name thrown out there, that's fine. I can just say that it's, you know, I'm a member of the Trading Post, etc. You know, but it's a very sad story, as is all of them, really. I mean, all these missing disappearances and things like that. It's heartbreaking. I couldn't imagine how a parent would feel to live the rest of their life out not knowing what happened to their child, or where they're at, or if they're okay, or if they're not. It's very sad. You know, because somebody could have easily kidnapped the child, and at that early of an age, you know, they could have changed the kid's name, you know, and the kid could have went on the rest of his life just only knowing that, not realizing who he really was. So, but anyway, you guys, that was another one of the Fred Files, episode 5, the disappearance of Bobby Dunbar. I hope you guys stay tuned. We're gonna have more of these. We're gonna have more episodes of different things. If you guys have any recommendations, anything like that, as I said, contact me on my email. Throw a comment down below if you like, and just throw your interests in there. Let me know what you want, because that's what we're here for. We're here for you, okay? But if I don't hear from you guys, I'm going to continue on just doing different things, okay? So, that's it, you guys. This is the Trading Post, and we're out. Till next time.